Hey, what's up, good people? Welcome to another edition of C.A.P. I'm your boy JD, and today we're going to do what? We're going to cultivate.
What's up, what's up, what's up? This is your girl, Erica J, and we're going to do what? Accumulate, and together
we will all
prosper.
What's good, Erica? Good to be back in the booth.
It is wonderful. This is our last episode of the season.
It is the last episode for 2024 for season 2.
And you know what? I got a birthday coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you do. You got a birthday. You're about to get a little older there, man.
I'm just going to get your age.
Yeah, well, you know, it's all good. Capricorn, right?
Yes, sir.
Scorpio energy, so that's good. I mean, you know, it's all good.
I mean, everybody can't be a Capricorn, so.
You know, well. All right, so let's get off into this buzz that we got going on. First thing first is one of my favorite players from back in the day, Michael Vick, is going to become the head coach, football coach at Norfolk State, which is a HBCU. Everybody knows that I'm a HBCU alum, Tennessee State University Tigers. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? This caught my attention first because you know when you see the name Michael Vick, you start thinking about all the you know, hoopla he was in like some years back with the animals and everything. So it was like, okay, he has moved right back up, and I was really, really glad to see it that people can see him in a whole nother light than from before.
Yeah, well, you know, things happen in life, and so sometimes people try to hold you to your worst moments in life, whether you are a celebrity, athlete, or just an everyday person. But I am glad. I'm loving this trend because, of course, Eddie George is the head coach of my HBCU, University of Tennessee State. Coach Prime kind of got it kicked off when he was coaching Jackson State before moving on to Colorado. So now you have ex-player, ex-quarterback Michael Vick being the head coach for Norfolk State. You can best believe that recruitment's going to go up and people at the game. So I hope him. I wish him nothing but the best. And
I'm excited for him.
I hope they get a chance to play either TSU or somebody so I can go catch a game, you know.
There'll be a game to see.
Yeah. So the next buzz topic we have is Glorilla donated $25,000 to her former high school, Melrose. What do you think about that?
That is absolutely phenomenal. When you have like some celebrities that actually come out of Memphis and they come to give back and to give back to the schools. And I have learned this isn't the first time that she's done this. So to be able to like give back to multiple schools, that's commendable.
Yeah, that was a big, a good look for her to do that. You know, anyone that's graduated from a high school and you in the capacity to give back, whether it's your time or money or anything, is definitely a good look. And they showed the video on TV how she was so approachable by the students or whatnot, because I think she graduated 2017, so she's not that far removed from being at the high school 7 years ago. But that was a good look. She does a lot of things, and that was a good look for her. So, and you could tell that the students just enjoyed her presence, and that's probably giving somebody motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm always about giving motivation, especially to the kids. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So that's our buzz for today. One last thing. The college playoff started, football playoff started last night. Notre Dame beat Indiana, and today there's 3 games. SMU is going against Penn State, and Tennessee is playing Ohio State tonight. Texas and Clemson. So, you know, anybody know that I'm a football head, so it's a big weekend of college football playoffs this weekend. So now, without further ado, we have a very special guest on the C.A.P. for the first time. A little bit about this young lady. She's a seasoned radio professional with over 20 years of experience with iHeart, Cumulus, Citadel. She excels in roles such as producer, voice talent, morning show co-host, and weekend host. She's a graduate of a fellow HBCU, LeMoyne College, where she earned her distinction of Du Bois Scholar and crowned Miss LeMoyne College 2000. She launched the Verbally Effective podcast back in 2018. She's an innovator and a resident at the historic Cosset Library, which is downtown Memphis. She spearheads podcasting programming and workshops, and she is the creator of the podcast festival Podbox, which we have been a part of. So let me introduce you to the one and only Double E, Ena Esco.
Hey.
Hello.
Double E. I love it.
Thank you all for having me.
We're glad having you on here. So, besides a little bit, I said, what do you want to tell our listeners and audience about Ena?
Wow. Well, you said a mouthful, but just, I've been in the media for about 25 years right now.
Okay.
And the whole journey has just changed with me, being a college student at Lemoyne, getting into radio, being on the radio, starting podcasts, now teaching podcasts. It's just been like a multimedia journey. And I'm just so blessed to be able to help other creators, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we live in a time now where so many voices are being marginalized. We just had an election. Voices need to be heard. So I'm just glad that I am in this space to help others amplify their voices. So, HBCU grad. I heard you say you an HBCU grad too.
Most definitely.
I love my alma mater, Lemoyne College. I'm actually about to embark on a new project with Lemoyne.
Okay.
They are introducing internet radio, podcast programming, and TV broadcasting, and I'm going to head that project at the top of the year.
Oh, that's a good look.
That is a good look, like to do something that you're passionate about with your alma mater that you love so much.
Yeah.
So that's something new on the horizon as well. So, yeah.
I love too, like you said, you are teaching about podcast programming, and I know you've been very influential in our former podcast co-host Shamel's starting her podcast.
Yes,
so that's
I'm so
pretty
proud
cool.
of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got it going on.
Well, without further ado, one of the questions I want to ask you, Ena, was since you have over 20 years of experience in media, iHeart, Citadel, Cumulus, what made you pivot to start the Verbally Effective podcast?
Oh, wow. So out of all those years and still being in radio right now, something that I wanted to do was more interviews. In radio, you only have so many seconds to say what you want to say, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is timed. You definitely have to put in the advertising in there because that's what the bottom line is about with media, right? It's run by advertising. So I noticed I couldn't, programmers, they wouldn't allow me to have guests on of people that were making different impacts in the Memphis community. And so I had heard about podcasting. And I was like, you know what? If I did a podcast, I could leverage those guests that are coming to let's say your iHearts into a deeper conversation, right? Let's extend the conversation outside of what we talked about on air. So I did my research on podcasting, and I made a commitment to myself at the top of 2018. I'm going to record every week. I don't care what's going on, whether I have to bank them up. I'm going to release a podcast every week. I saw a few other talent in the building at iHeart doing podcasts, but it was so new at the time, and they didn't really have time to do it. I had plenty of time because I was part-time, right? And so it came to be where so many people were coming through the door of iHeart because I was recording in their production studio. It was just plenty of empty studios at iHeart at the time because the landscape of radio was changing. We didn't need as many people as we once needed. Your sales team was cut down, let's just say I would say about 70%.
Wow.
With the input of syndication, with the talent, you don't need as many on-air personalities. So the building wasn't as boisterous as it used to be, right? So they had all these empty production studios. I was like, well, I'll just go in that studio and record my podcast. And so they started asking me questions. Well, what are you doing? I was like, I'm doing a podcast. And so then it kind of became maybe a possible conflict because all this is media housed under their umbrella, right?
Yeah.
I'm using their equipment. So they were kind of asking me, well, don't you want to be on the iHeart platform? I said, I'm already on the iHeart platform. Because I had already did my research. It's all about which company you're going to do your hosting with, right? It's going to stream right to iHeart, Spotify, Apple Music. So I was so ahead of what they knew about podcasting at that point. Everything just grew. Everything just blew up. Everybody wanted to be a guest on the podcast. I started doing live podcasts. Started at my alma mater, Lemoyne, during homecoming, and then grew it. I've done live podcasts at Hattie Lou Theater. And then we had the introduction of a gentleman by the name of Shamichael, who hit me up on Twitter.
Michael Hallman.
Shamichael, you know Shamichael, that's
New
a great guy.
direction.
Yes,
Day, yeah.
yes. Before Twitter was X, he hit me up. We followed each other, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this big project renovation at Casa Library, and I'm wondering, are you interested in teaching the public podcasting?" And I was like, "You know what? I am," because I was already doing online workshops. Having podcast meetups, the Podbox. Podbox started a long time ago. But it's just grown so much to where, you know, it was just an idea. Hey, I want to do deeper interviews with people that are coming to the radio station. Let me start a podcast. It's just grown astronomically.
Wow. That's very interesting, and interesting that you should even say Shamichael's name, because I just
Yes.
contacted him through Messenger and his wife just the other day, asking him about some things dealing with speaking. So
He changed my life. He changed the trajectory of where I'm going with podcasting.
that's what's up.
That's big.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Those
Wow.
connections like that, they are like epiphany moments.
Yes.
You never know who you're gonna come in contact with and what it can spark. So I always tell people, like, you know, never discount anybody, because you will never know
Exactly.
So true.
who you come across, what's gonna spark whatever. Because people get caught up in all the whose name is relevant,
Exactly.
and that used to kind of irk me. And then I had to realize like who I was and my heavenly Father, and what my drive is. And I'm like,
Man.
He will put me in connection with the right people. So I stopped worrying about, or not worrying, but I stopped letting that agitate me and be like, you know what? Let me just, whoever's meant to cross JD's path, we'll cross paths. And that's how me and Erica crossed paths when she did her leadership program for with students. And I volunteered, so did Shamel, and
That
here we
led to
are.
this.
It led to this with me coming to them about starting this. So, you know, I just look for good people, male or female, regardless of who you are. You're truly a good-hearted person and you're trying to do something innovative, I can get with you. You know what I'm saying? But all that name dropping or who knows who and all
it's
that.
a lot of that.
It's a lot of that. It's everywhere. There's a lot of that here. I've learned to
yeah.
be immune to it and just keep it moving.
Right, because you never know who knows who. You never know what gifts people have. You never know what
Exactly.
people are bringing to the table. So that reminds me of when I started Verbally Effective. I had guests on that may have not been a big name in the city, and maybe some of the people inside the radio station was like, "Who is that?" Like, if you don't know them now, you're
Just
about
wait.
to know who they are, right? Because you never know what people will say or do that will change your life.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to interview over 300 people on the Verbally Effective podcast,
It's major.
and all of them have different stories, different journeys, different gifts, and just to sit there and be a witness to their stories is just a blessing to me. So I love what I do.
Awesome. We love it too.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question that I have for you, we have been talking about this already a little bit. You host an annual event called the Podbox Festival. Tell our viewers about this event and how it came about.
Okay. So we mentioned Shamichael asked me if I was interested in being an innovator in residence. And this is the first innovator in residence role for Memphis for the library system. So I was really like a guinea pig, right? Like, how are we going to do this? Because at this point, they are about to hire, I believe, 5 to 8 more innovators in different respective fields. Well, when he contacted me about it, you know, CASET had been renovating that library for a long time. If you don't know, CASET Library was founded in like the 1800s in Memphis. Historic, only half of the building is renovated, and if you just look at some of that infrastructure and architecture of that second half, you'll be amazed at the type of like craftsmanship that went into that building. Also, just a fun fact. CASET was the first integrated library in the city of Memphis. So my alma mater, students from LeBourne College, were protesting, having mobilizing, organizing at CASET Library. So I learned all this history when I first started the residency. But of course, with any type of partnerships, you get on a contract, right? So within that contract, I knew, all of the Podbox events that I had, the meetups that I had, this could grow into somewhat of a conference or a festival, right? And so we negotiated. I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this residency, I definitely want to do a festival or annual event of that type, right? And so we didn't know what that looked like originally, and we put it in the contract. So I knew that for the festival that I wanted to extend the programming into a one-day conference centered around International Podcast Day, which is September 30th of every year. So the first year, it was actually on September 30th. And we just had workshops diving into, whether that's structuring your podcast, marketing your podcast, editing, AI, how do you leverage your brand, those type of things. And in year 2 with Podbox Festival, I was like, okay, will the library help me bring in a big name, right?
Yes.
A big draw to make it bigger and better. So this particular year, we kind of focused on the top genres in podcasting. So we kind of shifted a bit and had different panels that either the people in those particular panels, they have, let's just say, a sports podcast, a political podcast, and we got Amanda Seals to agree to come and be our keynote speaker. And I thought that she would be perfect because we were right ahead of the presidential election.
Right.
And so many people were, it was just the energy in society at that point was like, we didn't know where we were going to go. Are we going with Trump? Are we going with Kamala? And we see how that ended up, right? But Amanda was important to me because I know she was a podcaster. I know that she is a creator. I know that her voice was one that people tried to silence. And she remained independent and just took her platform to a whole nother level. She didn't let, any adversity stop her. And that's what I wanted the podcasters and the creators that attended Podbox to hear her story and be motivated by it. Because, not only, at that time in September when we had it, I feel like it's going to get worse. And I feel like people really need to either start their platforms now or, get with a group of people where you have shared opinions on ideals, because it's about to get ugly, in my opinion. So if you already have the platform, what we do have as a saving grace is the internet, is digital platforms, is more independent new media. So, we're not tied down to commercial media or traditional norms in the media space.
Right.
So everybody can use their voice right now. They just, like through the residency, through the Podbox Festival, need to understand how they can utilize the resources they already have.
And your having that Podbox has been a tremendous help to us.
It has.
Of course, we've attended twice already and look forward to it again. And then when you had Amanda, I began following Amanda from when she was on the show Insecure.
Yep, I'm a big fan.
Me too.
But I hate, of course, the whatever her and Issa got. That's not.
Oh yeah, that was a little nasty boost right there.
Yeah, but so when I started following her on social media, I got a chance to see a different side of her, because who she is in real life and the character she played is totally different.
It is.
Yeah, man, you wouldn't even think that, but that's the beauty and gift of being able to act and play a character. But and then she went on Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay. That was another intriguing one, because it was like, You could tell he was looking like, and later on some things were said and she kind of clarified, and so but that was a good look, having her come and just, regardless with anybody, you don't follow everything that they say, because that's like almost saying you agree with everything that anyone says 100% of the times. You don't. But when someone has bravery and to just be who they are and really are trying to help folks, whether you agree with them or not, they're trying to help people that look like them.
Yes.
That's what I respect.
Yeah.
Regardless of what I do agree with, regardless of some things I may not agree with, it's just if your heart is in the right place and you're going to be unapologetically who you are and stand up to that, then I take my hat off to any man or woman that does that. And she does that regardless of how them folks try to
she does that. She's been doing it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
She's been doing it. And do you know that very recently she was fired from Radio 1. She was doing a morning show with Radio 1, which is a Black-owned media network, a huge network too. They fired her and told her that they felt that she wasn't funny enough. She was too polarizing. And, not sure, so she went online and she communicated that with her audience. And she started her own morning show on her YouTube channel Monday through Wednesday. So you can check her out. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, we no longer have to be up under a Radio 1 and iHeart, these huge media companies anymore. We can do the same thing on our own platforms. So that's what I love and respect about Amanda, because she's 100% independent at this point. So
I love that, just by the fact of you saying you can get fired from one, but the fact she did not let the detour deter her. She kept right on going, and she kept right on moving forward. If you're having issues getting what you're created to do out there, create it yourself.
Yes.
And I am a firm believer of that. Don't let anybody else stop you, because if they put a roadblock there, it's just another door for God to open for you.
Right. They're not stopping anything. And it's a lot of work that goes into a morning show. It's a lot of information that's being communicated, a lot of, show prep. It's a lot of structuring how the segments are going to go. So I applaud her because she's doing a great job. I've been checking her out this past week on her show on YouTube. And she's heavy on Patreon, monetization. So if she's 100% independent, that means, she is soliciting you to support what she's doing, because that is going to be her income. Other than any type of sponsorships, any type of brand deals, she going to throw that Cash App out there. Right?
Yeah.
So if you love Amanda Seales, if you love a creator and they share their monetization, monikers with you, support them because they are really trying to build and grow a community.
Yes. That's awesome.
That is most definitely. So you're on the C.A.P, and when I took that acronym for C.A.P, for me, C.A.P means a lot of different things nowadays. Mm-hmm. Back in our generation, it meant something else. Now they consider it, you lying, capping or whatnot. So when I came up with this construct, I was like, C.A.P, cultivate, accumulate, prosper. So we always ask our guests questions pertaining to the acronym. So I wanted to ask you is, how did you cultivate your experience and mentorship to become a trailblazer in radio and podcasting?
Well, I think it really began with, as I worked in radio before I started podcasting, what I realized, it was a lot of gatekeeping going on. It was like a secret society that very few could be a part of. And I couldn't understand, why are we training the next set of people that will be doing this? We won't be here forever. And so I would often ask about, hey, are we doing internships? It was like, no, we're not doing any internships. So I said, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I started working with the students at Lemoyne with podcasting through a grant that they had. and I taught them how to podcast. We created the Magic Mike's podcast of just, let's just say, HBCU culture, their thoughts on some of the activities that were going on campus, dorm life, all the things that they wanted to talk about, and create a safe space and a setting and teaching them the tools of podcasting. So I felt like, okay, this is the way that I can, give them a platform to start podcasting, right? And so when the Innovator in Residence role came up, it just grew even more, because now I'm working with the entire city of Memphis. Like, anyone can show up to any workshop that I do. It's wide open to the public. That's something I had to get used to as well. Like, have you ever dealt with the public before? Like,
Yes.
wide open. Like, you never know what you're going to get, right?
Right.
Oh.
You never know. So it's been interesting as well. But I really feel like a community, through the Pod Box events we've had, through the programming, has cultivated this, new era of new media. Like, so many people that have come through the residency have started podcasts. And, I'm just proud to say that I was able to work with them. Because you never know where this will go, right?
That is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now see, that is very, very interesting. I'm learning so much from you just in these
Yes.
talks. I'm like, oh yeah, I got more questions. Now, before I get to the accumulation question, I had this one question because you mentioned syndication. What is the best way to get on the path of syndication?
That's a really tough question, because even my last stint I had at iHeartRadio, remember how I said it's kind of like gatekeeping, secret society type?
Yeah.
So what they do, from what I've noticed, they already have certain people that are in their network that are in not only, let's just say, in Memphis, but they're tracking shows for all over the United States. Your Indianas, your LAs. Not only are they utilizing actors, comedians like your Steve Harveys, your D.L. Hugleys. Now, those are the big syndicated people, right? Those are the ones that are definitely going to get those morning shows, those drive time slots, because those are the most listened to time slots in radio. However, you have midday talent. We hear Angela Yee right now on K97 on iHeart, but you also have weekend talent. So I noticed, as I would drive into to go to the morning show in the morning, I would hear a young lady that was on, but I could listen to her voice, I could listen to her accent, and I could tell that she was not from Memphis. So I said, okay, so we got a syndicated talent on at nighttime. And from what I had learned from Mike, her name is Sharonda. She's been doing that syndicated spot not only in Memphis, but probably upwards of 20 cities for over 10, 15 years. Like, once they have a talent, it's hard to kind of break into that syndication piece. I still haven't cracked the code on that, but there will be more of that. But that means there'll be less of local talent. Right?
Okay.
So, I mean, are you interested in going the syndication route in radio?
I think that it would be very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very
Me
interesting.
personally,
Look into it.
I want to. I'm not going to. Because I listen to Steve Harvey's inspiration part on iHeart. If I'm not listening to music when I'm in the morning working out, I'm listening to his inspiration part. And what I do, what I call the brain drop that I do personally myself, I can see myself doing that. And then I've always, growing up, back in the day, I used to listen to Walt Baby Love, do the countdown. I've even tried to get on with the limited experience I had from high school, 1 year at a radio station when I was a sophomore. When I was at TSU, I didn't get on the radio because I had other things going on, which in hindsight, I wish I would have, but I was like, so I submitted some stuff to Cumulus 103.5, got an interview. I mean, I did this all on my own, other than the grace of God, but it was just like, well, They had me do the airdrop and was like, well, if you can get some more experience. And I was like,
That's
so
what I'm trying to do.
yeah. So I just ended up starting my first podcast, which was Life Gistics, which was a solo podcast, and then spun here some years later to do this. Because I even tried at iHeart, submitted my resume with the experience that I had from then and with the podcasting experience, but I never heard anything back. And so I'm of the mindset like, well, if that doesn't happen, JD, you just keep doing what you do, man. You know,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, but I do like listening to the inspiration part from Steve Harvey, and you know, I used to trip off. I'm like, man, I could do what Keith Sweat doing. That Sweat Hotel used to trip me out because I'm like, is he really giving advice? And I'm not hating because I like Keith Sweat's music, but when I would hear that sometimes. And I was like, man, it must be nice to sit there and someone asking you something and you kind of vaguely, and then you play some music. And I'm not hating on them. Like I said, it was just fun to me. I'm like, but they celebrities, and I'm like, you know, there's a will, there's a way. But that would be something at this point in my life. Now, when I was younger, that really wasn't on my radar. But at this point, besides up in my speaking engagements, that's something Erica know. I've talked to her and Shamel about that I would love to do before my time is up on this earth. Because but being on this mic is very powerful.
Yes.
And it's not a vanity thing, but it's you can help people in a lot of ways. And everybody's not a pastor, but I don't mean you got something to say.
Exactly.
That's how I look at that.
Right. And this is what I want y'all to know. I want y'all to know that radio, and this is what I've learned being in radio, is not the end all be all to do what you want to do in the media. And it's because the landscape has changed. You're seeing more celebrities on your radio networks now. But guess what? The ratings in radio aren't where they used to be. We have something in radio right now called cannibalization. I know you guys know what that means. It's like where it's like I'm my own competition in a sense. So you have your iHearts. Let's just say you have your Steve Harvey in the morning. Who is Steve competing with? The Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, Ricky Smiley.
Ricky Smiley. You'll see that in Memphis, in the Memphis market, a lot of the same stations are either 1, 2, or 3, and they rotate out. You look at the talent that locally that's on in Memphis, and they're kind of up in age a bit. So it's like, what's next? You're looking for the next generation.
Right.
What are these big media companies going to do? They're going to start looking at you, JD, looking at some of these podcasters to come in and fill up some of that programming. I'm telling you, that's where we're going now. They're going to look at more AI possibilities right now. Have you all seen like an AI radio program and what it can do? How it can mimic your voice and create a whole show like your brain drop segment.
Yeah. No,
All you have to do is feed it the prompts. And you guys will be shocked and amazed.
Is that in Chat GPT? Because I'm still learning Chat GPT.
Please keep using Chat GPT.
I'm still learning it.
To learn Chat GPT. I love Chat GPT. I mean, because it gives you, I mean, you feed it a little something, it's going to give you so much in return. You got to tweak it though. You got to read through it. But it's just a way that information is so organized. But what I want you to know is you're doing probably more work in media now than some of these people that you know that are in the media. A lot of them are at the house. They have a small production studio. They can tap right in. Like I remember at one point, I believe it was snowy, icy weather. I could just pull up my Rodecaster, tap right into the studio. Like these people aren't even sitting in the studio half the time.
Right.
I know the Keith Sweat definitely at his home in his cozy studio at the house. Like it's just the technology has changed. Programming is changing in radio right now. The biggest appeal in radio are not the personalities, it's the music. Music comes first. Yeah. On a radio, on a, your, what do you call it? Traditional radio, terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
Music comes first. If you don't have that music right, folks are going to tune out anyway, unless you're just a huge fan of your Steve Harveys, your Ricky Smileys, and the sorts. But I want you to know, like, if you are totally intrigued by the messaging that Steve Harvey does and you want to do something similar to that with your brain drop, create some content for Brain Drop and keep putting it on these digital platforms. Like, you can build what you want right now. Right now.
appreciate that.
Steve
Yeah.
Harvey might start hitting you, hey man, hey man, say man, what you doing
And
over there in Memphis?
it just takes one. It just
That's
takes
all
one,
it
because a
takes.
lot of times you have these shows. Like, I had ideas to do this conference, Manifest Conference, and I had an idea to do a stage play. Had the ideas back in 2004. I did the conference and launched my business in 2018 with the Manifest Conference, a business conference. In 2019, I did the play, Detours, and have been having it in me since 2004. And I'm trying to see if I can do it on this platform, or what am I going to do on this platform. And it was like, no, you got to create this. And once I started seeing that you create things for yourself, that's how my name started getting out there.
Yes. Got to create it. Like, you got to put the work in. It's not just going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to put the work in. And I think a lot of people that have these desires, they shy away from the work. Because when they figure out, okay, well, I'm going to do it, and they figure out how much work you got to put into it, it may be a distraction for them. They may be like, a barrier, right?
Yeah.
But with podcasting right now, the barrier of entry is very low. Like, anyone can jump in, but who is going to stay in the long game and be consistent?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the key.
So in all of this, what would you say you have accumulated over the years?
Who we accumulated? I've made a lot of great, I would say, connections over the years. I've been able to partner with different companies to have these sponsorships available. My relationship with my alma mater has increased, which I really appreciate that, because, like I said, I'm just looking in the future to see what is next. How can I help build up the next legion of media? Because I in my field, I didn't see that happening. So I guess I've accumulated a desire to be instrumental in that area. What else have I accumulated? Man, I've accumulated a lot of work. Like, doing all of this takes a lot of time, honey. A lot of time. And I've been, really have to sit with myself to create boundaries at this point. Because I can't do everything. I need to accumulate a team. That's what I need to accumulate.
You and me both.
Right? Because things are growing, ideas are getting bigger, and I understand I can't do everything myself. But I've been blessed to accumulate a lot of great partnerships, a lot of great people in my network that I can go to, and I'm tapping into those resources now, which is something I probably didn't do in the beginning. So that's what's changed for me, knowing that I need help, knowing I need to delegate, and bringing others in to help with that.
Gotcha.
Well, with us here, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure Erica feels the same. Partnership and collaboration is definitely at any time, because coming to the pod box has helped tremendously. And
Both of
I would have
us.
told myself some years ago I would have been at a event like that, I've been like, I doubt it. You know what I'm saying? Many years ago, before I started my little solo one, which was strictly audio, and I did it right in my living room, man. And folks thought I was in the whole studio. It was the platform that I use, Spreaker.
I love Spreaker.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's my jaunt.
And so, and it just touched people, and I had the music element to it, because I love music, especially my 90s and 80s R&B and old school hip hop. But and so, and it made me feel like I was doing my own radio show, podcast, whatnot. So, yeah.
So why did you stop?
That it wouldn't. I didn't have the licensing for
The music.
For it to be uploaded. I was able to share it with people, but for it to be uploaded on the platforms because of that, and I didn't know a way around it, and I definitely wasn't about to pay nobody's fine, for trying to do something that I know wasn't, correct. So I was just like, but I still have those archive episodes that that's on my link tree, and when people listen to it, they're like, man, JD, you were saying some inspiring things, and I'm like, appreciate it. And that's what spawned me to want to start this. But I knew I wanted to have a co-host because following all the radio shows and other podcasts, I like having that other perspective, and I want it to be, I'm a man, I'm a male, I want it to be a female. Because I like to have different perspectives, because regardless of what in life, there's no one way to do anything. And so, you, of course, you got your certain podcasts that some that bash women and some that bash men. I'd be like, that's to each his own. But I'm always of the mindset, like, you can learn something from everyone and you can do more together as opposed to, trying to bump heads or whatnot.
That's
Right.
true. And,
Yeah.
it's an audience for all that type
Yeah.
of content.
I just know
Exactly.
what it was that I wanted to be associated with. So that's why I was like, okay. But last but not least, we want to ask you, how has all of this allowed you to prosper?
Prosper. Well, as I mentioned, so let's look at it like this. So I started my own multimedia company called IvyMultimedia in 2017. And so some of the work that I was getting through radio, some of the, let's just say we would get things called remotes, where one of, let's just say, iHeart's clients, they want you to come out to Gossett Auto and do like 2 hours of promoting whatever they wanted to promote, their deals or whatever. You're paid a certain fee through the radio station on your check, right? But in radio, the key to making money was what you did outside of radio.
Yeah.
Was all of the hosting gigs, all of, let's just say, when I started doing workshops with podcasting, all of those things are up under the IvyMultimedia brand. My partnership with the city of Memphis, with the Innovator in Residency, is through my company, IvyMultimedia. So at this point, what I'm doing is trying to build up the next league of, like I said, creators to come up under my brand and help them monetize, and also help myself monetize as well through sponsorships. I remember the first time, let's say 2018, when I started podcasting, because that very first year is when I talked with Lamar about having my first live podcast at Homecoming. And I was, how, I don't know if you ever experienced this, like at that point I was like, oh, I have to ask people for money to support me. Oh my God. I did a little research on the internet, and it kind of gave me some ideas for a template and a way to ask. And I had some sales experience as well. Like, I can get very persuasive with people. And I don't know why I have a knack for connecting with people. God bless me with that. Thank you, Lord. And so I was able to raise, I would say, the very first time for that first live show, upwards of maybe $2,500, which I wasn't expecting that, right?
Okay.
And so at that point, it just gave me the fire to know, hey, I can continue this. I know how to get sponsorships. I can help other people get sponsorships. So I've been able to get some pretty lucrative deals through IvyMultimedia with podcasting, with this Innovator in Residency program. So I just plan to do more content for 2025. Like I said, it's all about growth and bigger deals. But, and understanding who you want to align with, because I don't want to align with any brand, right? It has to complement what I'm doing. It has to have some of the same values and morals that I have. Because some people just fall for the money, and then there's conflicts of interest, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely don't want that.
Yeah, because salt and sugar look the same until you taste that joint. So you don't want to, and that's how I had to look at things. Yeah, I want to get to the paper, because the paper is a resource, and the resources can be used to do a lot, take care of your family, take care of yourself, leave a legacy, all of that. But at the same time, you don't want to sell your soul just to buy some attention.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people are doing
and you
out here.
will be approached by the devil himself.
Yeah.
To do
So
often.
very
Yeah.
much so. And just, having discernment to know what's right, what's wrong. Being in the entertainment business, the radio business, you meet a lot of characters over the years. So, and I say that to say that I feel like I've met them all. And you can start to see red flags in conversations with people of, yeah, I'm not going to move forward. I don't care how nice it sounds. I'm not moving forward with this, right?
Right.
So, I guess that's the gift of discernment, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes, and that's much needed in a business such as this.
It is. And you hear it all the time. And it's the scripture in the Bible. People are looking at that money, and it's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yes, yes.
That love of money. I gotta have this money. And where there's money involved, then you start coming into some of these situations that these higher up people end up being in. I
Yeah.
won't say any names, but we all know one for sure.
Okay.
But it's just so much. You're looking at those dollar signs. You're looking at that part of it, but you gotta have the heart for what you're doing. That's it. Like, I know JD and I have a heart for this. We have a great heart for speaking and helping others. But we have to learn we cannot compromise. Some things we just cannot compromise.
Definitely no, and prosperity comes in many forms. So I'm 100% independent, just like my girl Amanda Seals. So there has to be some type of income coming in. So I'm definitely going to create that scenario, right? But other than the income, the money, I feel that I've built such a beautiful community of creators, and that is so rewarding, so fulfilling within itself. Because when you build a community, you can just relate to people. You can talk about shared goals, common interests, and learn how to build on that. So I feel that I've prospered in many ways in what I do.
All right.
That's what's up. So now we come into the segment of our show where we have a little fun. And this segment is called Top 5.
Oh.
And what I'm gonna give you my top 5. I'm gonna ask you something, and then you can give your take on it, and then Erica give you her top 5. So I'm gonna ask you your top 5 black females in radio and podcasting. I'm gonna give you my top 5, and it's not in any particular order. Jamel Hill, the lovely Crystal Renee Hazlitt, who plays Fatima on the show, Angela Yee, Big Sue, and Ena Esco.
I had to know you were in there. Come on.
And seriously, I do. I mean, I've admired you for a long while, so that's why I was glad that you was able to come on here, and how you've helped me even with coming to the podcast, the seminars the past 2 years. So, but definitely from when you first started Verbally Effective to being on the radio, and then of course here in Memphis, Big Sue being on the radio. Jamel Hill, she had her podcast when it was Unbothered.
I love that.
I used to love listening to that. You know what I'm saying? And then Crystal, she started one, Keep It Positive, Sweetie. She's had some people on there that's been good. And then, of course, when Angela Yee was on The Breakfast Club, and she has her own thing going now. So, yeah.
Okay, I love your top 5.
Yeah.
For various reasons. So my top 5 women in podcasting and radio, of course, I got my girl Amanda Seals on there for obvious reasons. And very much so for the independent reasons, because I aspire to really grow my brand and, be a creative in that manner. Sarah Jakes Roberts, I love her podcast.
Oh, yes.
Because it just keeps me spiritually grounded. She's a phenomenal speaker. The connection is just amazing. And when I think about some of the women in radio, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Egypt Sherrod. Egypt used to be on air. She used to be, I think, on a few syndicated shows.
She was
on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But now she's an HGTV star. Like, and I actually had the opportunity to meet her a couple of years ago. She came to Brown Baptist to do like a homeowners seminar with Brown under their, you know, theme for home ownerships with their congregation, and I hosted the event.
Okay.
And she was absolutely amazing. But I've always been a big fan of hers. Bev Johnson.
Okay.
She's just a trailblazer in this business.
That's true.
And if you've ever seen Bev Johnson in person and host and just say a few words to a crowd, she captivates them. And it is just by her being herself and giving the energy. She is just a professional on the mic. I truly adore Bev Johnson, a woman that, you know, I've been able to have conversations with to give me great advice. Who else? Number 5. Who would number 5 be? Because you know what? I'm trying to think of her name. And this would I guess lean more on the sports side. Y'all, I have some sports commentary in me that needs to break out. And that's something that I'm trying to challenge myself to do. I'm a former athlete. I actually played volleyball on scholarship at Lemoyne On. Was all state in high school. But other than volleyball, I love the NBA, NFL, all the things. So what was my girl? She was making a lot of noise earlier this. Monica
McNutt?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I love her. I love her. I love her. I love that the women are being more in the forefront now in the sports genre, because that is such a massive genre to get into. And of course, it's male dominated. And so many things that I've done in my career have been male dominated. But I see the women, once they make their insert and make their points, like it's no stopping them.
Yeah, she went head up with Stephen A. And kind of had him had him feeling some kind of way. But I mean, you know, I'm gonna leave that alone. But she was, and what she was saying, I understood, because, you know, sometimes, you know, he can be a bit extreme, you know. I don't have nothing against the brother, but I just, sometimes he can go over the top.
Definitely.
And he can be peddling to other folks because of what we talked about, because of that check.
Yeah, and I think he does it for shock value.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yep.
Absolutely true.
Well, that's a good top 5. Okay.
So we're going to go with the top 5, and I love this little category because I'm into the 80s and 90s music.
Okay.
Because it was my era. So I would like to say the top 5 R&B female artists. Oh, and see, it's kind of hard for me to it's kind of hard for you to just narrow it down to 5.
It is.
Because I was thinking about so many, but at the top of mine always is Whitney Houston. She's always at the top.
Classic.
I love me some Whitney Houston. I just did. Janet Jackson. Gotta love them Jacksons. I'm just saying. Control. All of that stuff. Especially when she really started getting up. I'm like, okay, I didn't know Janet had it in her.
Man, I thought I was Janet Jackson when I was little.
You too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought she was my girl. She's my girl.
Okay.
That Pleasure Principle. I'm like, okay.
That's the jam. That's the jam. That's the jam. Anita Baker. So that's 3. Brandy, Aaliyah.
Oh, you took one of mine.
Hey, you know. So that's like 4. Mary J. Blige. So yeah, I'm taking about 2 boys, aren't I?
It sound like you said about 8 on. I thought this was top 5.
It's 5. I said 5. I think I said 5.
I think it was a little more, but it's all
I was
good.
trying to just say
all
5.
good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because
I got excited.
me and you share some top 5s because, of course, you know, I started my radio career, like 2000. So I'm getting all of that early 90s, early 2000 R&B, especially entering in radio. It was crazy. So Even in my college days, plenty of Aaliyah. I was heavy on Aaliyah.
She was my girl.
Heavy on Total. The girl groups were like running the gamut back then. You mentioned Mary J. Blige. That's my girl. I love Mary J. Blige. She can, sing
Mary
a
J.
sad
Blige,
song to this day.
Mary J. Blige is not in a relationship. She be on it.
Yes.
When she done had a breakup, unfortunately, I hate it for you personally, but when she just had a breakup, she for to come out because
With that creative
yeah, that song "Be Without You" was one of my favorite songs by her. Even though she got quite a few more, but that "Be Without You" with Terrence Howard in the video,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes. What was that? 3 I had. And you said we keeping in 90s. Who else did I like? I liked so many. Missy Elliott. She is such a trailblazer in that space because she gonna give you that R&B. She gonna give you that hip hop vibe. And set the tone for so many. Who else?
You can dip into the 80s too if you
I could dip in the 80s.
You can dip into the 80s because that was a good era too.
I'm a roll with Nippy as well, with Whitney Houston. Because Whitney, baby, she set the tone for so many women in the industry. She just had that voice. She was up under Clive Davis when she first began her career until her death. Okay, that's a long time to be up under Arista Records. And before Whitney, it was, what's my girl name? Because she was up under Clive, but Whitney took her spot. What's my girl name? She was in School Days. She sang the when they were at homecoming.
Oh my God, I know who you're talking about.
Hats.
Phyllis Hyman.
There it is.
I'm
like, why can't I think of that?
Hyman too. So y'all know Whitney took her spot, baby, and had no qualms about it. But Clive Missy was messy, baby. Clive Davis was messy. But yeah, those are my top 5. We ain't gonna get into all of that. That's a whole nother podcast.
Uh-huh.
I know a lot about music, but I definitely didn't know that she was on him. I hate how things ended for her with her. I think she had depression and she committed suicide. But I didn't know that she was under Arista. Yeah, that was something.
She was supposed to be doing everything you saw Whitney doing, but it could have been. I haven't heard Clive's side, so it could have been different personalities or different things that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Whitney probably was more workable talent. Who knows? But yeah, I recently saw a documentary about it. It was deep.
That would be interesting to see. I've never seen that
on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yes. But y'all know I love my music now.
Oh yeah,
Me too.
I'm a big music head. I work out, write. Even when I'm cooking, sometimes I'm got my music on. Yeah, of course. Gotta have a diverse set of skills. So, but music. I mean, I do. I just love listening to. If it's not my R&B, it's inspirational gospel, or old school hip hop. Neo soul. I even like listening to some reggae and jazz.
A little Afro beats.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So.
Burna Boy.
Yeah. So before we go to our next segment, for everyone that's watching this right now, like as always, you see that button at the bottom.
It's right there. It's right
Hit subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast.
Subscribe, y'all.
Subscribe to the podcast. Even though this is the last episode for season 2 for this year, we're looking forward to coming back in 2025 to give you great content and everything. So hit the subscribe button. Now, the next segment we're going into is the banana peel. We're going to peel back this banana.
Let's go.
So we can give someone some advice. So, Erica, let you read the email that was sent to us, our letter for the day.
Okay. And you'll hear from us. Then, as always, you will hear from our guest as well. And before I read, please send your questions, any questions you may have, to the C.A.P Podcast 3 at gmail.com. That is the C.A.P Podcast 3 at gmail.com. So this is the last episode of the season. So when we get ready to start back up, make sure you keep those coming in. And the next one might be yours. So here we go. This is from Adina in Augusta, Georgia. I'm a single mother of a son, my only child, who is a senior in high school in the class of 2025. He is a highly recruited football player and will be playing for the University of Georgia in the fall on a full football scholarship and NIL deal of $100,000. He has a girlfriend who is clingy and has a jealous streak. I know he has to live his life growing up as a young man. I just want the best for him and want him to make good decisions. What should I do?
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot, Adina. And of course, as you said, being a single mother and it's of a high school son, he's very impressionable. He seems like he has a very huge future ahead of him. And I think that you have great right to be concerned because, yeah, it's going to be a lot of women who are going to be interested in the money, of course. So I would say make sure that you have a discussion with your son in love, of course, to make sure that he is being mindful of the decisions that he makes. You know, just talk to him as a young man, not as a mother, but as a young man, you know, if you know what I mean. To be mindful of the decisions that he makes and recognize what these girls are out for. Make sure that they are have your best interests at heart, and be observant. Watch, listen, because there will be telltale signs. There's always those red flags. So I would say have a conversation with him, but you have to also remember the fact that this is your son, and you have been right there with him over the years. That believe that he will take into consideration the things that you've already taught him. Because sometimes when we think our kids aren't listening, they really are. They really are. So be mindful. You know what you've taught him, and it's going to start to come into play as he gets out there more. He's going to make a few mistakes, but be there to still talk him through it, and I promise you, he'll start to get it.
Okay. My take on this is this. You know, being a young man, I know how being a former athlete, but not like the young fellas today who have the privilege, as they should, with the money and the NIL deals for what they do for playing football or whatnot. Besides having that conversation with him, if his father is around or your brother or uncle or someone, to talk to him as well, because with all of this, to whom much is given, much is required. Yeah. So this is all going to be new to him. I mean, you coming into a situation like almost like a scratch off. $100,000 for someone coming out of high school is very, very major. Get a chance to play for a big D1 program such as Georgia. The girlfriend situation is one of those things that you kind of have to, I'm not going to say tread lightly, but it's different with young men, and they, you know, get that little love bite, you know, and he's got to know that stability comes from the neck up, not the neck, not below the neck. And I say that because it's a temptation is what it is. And when someone really cares about you, you have to watch their mannerisms. I mean, this is even as grown folks. Being a single man, I have to look at when I go out with anybody, I pay attention to their mannerisms. And, you know, I have a lot of friends who happen to be females, whether it's from college, high school, or whatnot. And if a woman if there's always an issue, then that's not a good thing.
Right.
But maybe if you have a brother or he has an uncle or a coach or someone besides yourself, can kind of talk to him from that aspect so he can be focused on what's important, not saying that how he feels about someone is not. We're seeing the same scenario in a high-profile situation with someone who just won the Heisman, but he's about to get married and he's getting ready to go into the NFL. So, but just be there for him as not only as his mother, but speaking from a woman's perspective, just let him know, like, hey, just let him know what to look out for, and and that you raise him to be the man that he is and to make good decisions.
Right.
But yeah, we all know how things like this can play out if some wisdom is not infused in a situation. But he has a bright future ahead of him. Just don't want him to squander it on any foolishness. And so he needs to, just have someone to talk with him besides yourself. That's a man, his uncles or whomever, his dad or whomever can. And, ultimately it'll be his decision, but he'll be able to see, the situation with his current girlfriend, if that's something that's for him in the future or if it's just what it was for right now. Because everybody can't go on the journey that we go on.
Right.
Sometimes you got to leave people behind. And I'm not saying that's the case, but if it is, you got to be brave enough to make that decision. That's going to be a decision that he has to make. What is your take on it?
Wow. When you first started talking about it, it was giving me the Travis Hunter vibes. Everybody's trying to put their 2 cents into that situation. And it makes me think about, I have 2 boys, a 19-year-old and an 11-year-old. And I've seen a little clinginess with certain young ladies with my 19-year-old that I didn't like, and had a conversation with my son about it. All we can do with our children, we can communicate with them and give them different scenarios of how things will go. And with your children, they're paying attention to how their parents move as well, how daddy
Right.
treats mommy, how mommy treats daddy. They pay attention to all these things. But I'm going to tell you something else. With a 19-year-old, did they say 19?
No,
Did we give an age?
They didn't give an age, but I'm sure if he's ready to graduate, he's probably
and
18.
He's not far. He's close to it.
18.
Sometimes you got to let your children bump their head a little bit. Sometimes they need to, you can do all the talking with them, but sometimes it's not going to take until they bump their own head really good for them to wake up. Whether that's, something blows up with the girl, the clingy, the jealous streak, they're young at that. They do things like that. I didn't have my little jealous streak back in the day. Way back in the day. Right, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's an emotion, right? But you don't want to see, with the onset of these NIL deals, though, with this money involved, you try to protect your children as much as you can. You try to teach them about how to move as much as you can, but they are going to make some mistakes. So I would say, mama, just keep talking to him. He's listening. Like Erica said, he's listening, but he is going to make his own decisions. He's going to make his own decisions. So hopefully, he tapped into what mama's saying, or with a strong advisor, maybe an uncle or a dad, like JD said. But they will make some crazy mistakes at that age, and it's normal.
That's a lot of money coming at you
It
at that
is.
age too, though. So it could also be good to make sure whether it's her or an uncle that's giving him some guidance in that as well.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Because that's a major pivot. Because even he goes to Georgia and he does well, plays well or whatnot, big time program. He may have a shot at NFL, but if he doesn't, just the money he's made off this is a lot more than some grown folks that are working.
Yeah,
Like,
he
and-
probably gonna buy
yeah.
girlfriend a new car
You know what I'm
and
saying?
her mama.
So
You
That's
never
what she
know.
working. That's what she's working for.
and that's where that wisdom got to come in at, to not, know that your stability is from the neck up and not the neck down.
That part.
And you mess around and you know what I'm saying, and yeah, you got to always keep your ace of spade. You got to always hold your card, and so it takes having someone who's going to infuse some wisdom into you, but and let you know, but ultimately it's your decision. Now you don't want to mess this up, because just a few years ago this wasn't the case, and young guys were going to play college ball with the dreams of maybe going to NFL, but it doesn't happen for everybody. But now with the NIL money,
They getting it right out of
yeah,
high school.
yeah, and so you can, even if you never touched the NFL, you have made some life-changing money by doing something that you love and going to school. You don't want to mess that off over something frivolous,
Right.
and so
That money very early.
yeah. So Adina, we hope that helps, and wish your son nothing but the best of luck.
Yes, good luck.
Getting ready to
Good
play
luck.
for the Georgia Bulldogs in 2025. So yeah.
I think that's some great advice too, JD, because in situations like this, it's always good to get that male perspective too.
Oh yeah, I'm just keeping it real. I mean, even
Yeah.
Cassius is producer. No, we know how being a young guy. Hell, we know how older guys think. So being a young guy and you coming into some money like that, and it's someone you have who you deem as your main girl or whatnot that you got the love bug or whatever for, but now you about to be a highly recruited person on the University of Georgia's campus or any major division school, football player, even if folks per se don't like you as a person, it's the persona of what you are, who you represent, and they'll throw any and everything at you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And look, will he still have a girlfriend when he make it to Georgia? Because them girls coming at that 100K. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and every shade from Lachelle to Becky. So
Becky.
yeah. So I just wish you nothing but the best, but just yeah. So
Karen.
it has been
That was the first thing to Karen and Becky.
I'm like, is she still Becky now?
it's yeah.
Come on, Ena. Oh wow.
So
this has been fun.
Yeah, this has been a great show today. So we want to give our esteemed guests a chance to let all our viewers know what you got coming up, how they can get in contact with you for any services. Have at it. Your social media sites, all of that.
Okay, so make sure you guys, if you haven't done so already, if you're interested in podcasting, tap into the programming that we have at CASA Library through the Innovator in Residence program. We're currently working on programming for Q1 right now. One of the most popular workshops is that podcast boot camp that we have. So we're definitely going to do that quarterly. So, all you have to do is follow my socials to stay completely abreast of what I have going on at Ena Esco, ENAESCO. That's for Instagram. That's for YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest. I'm on all platforms. Make sure you hit that follow button. We've been talking about hit that subscribe button for the C.A.P podcast. Hit that subscribe button. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. A lot of people view podcasts. They'll look at the whole podcast and may forget to hit that subscribe button. We definitely need you to do that to support what we do. But yes, at Ena Esco, ENAESCO. You'll get the links to the Verbally Effective podcast that I host and all other projects that I'm working on currently. And thank you guys so much for having me today.
Awesome.
It was a pleasure having you on here. So now we head into the segment of the show where we have the detour moment, followed by myself with the brain drop. So Erica.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to read this to you guys. And here we go. Be thankful for closed doors, detours, and roadblocks. They protect you from paths and places not meant for you. I'm going to say that again. Be thankful for closed doors, detours, and roadblocks. They protect you from paths and places not meant for you. So this particular one, we've talked about this some today. You're going to have some roadblocks. We're going to have some detours. We've had a lot of them this year, period. It's at the end of the year. But these detours are going to make you stronger. You're going to get some cuts. You're going to get some bruises. But these detours are going to make you stronger and realize that even though you may have had some closed doors this year, you may have had some roadblocks, but it's setting you on the path to greatness, to your destiny, and to more open doors that God will have before you.
That's very inspiring, Erica. Thank you for that. The brain drop for the day. Many want life over easy, but it's a scramble. Let me say that again. Many want life over easy, but it's a scramble. I use a reference to eggs because when I do eat eggs, I prefer mine scrambled. But life is not going to be easy by no facet of the imagination. You're going to have conflict. You're going to have roadblocks. You're going to have setbacks. So in that reference, it's more of a scramble. You got to maneuver, overcome, keep the faith to get anything accomplished. You're going to have your days that are good. You're going to have your times when you're smiling. You're going to have your wins, and you're going to have your losses. So anything worth having, it's not going to come easy, and we all hear that all the time, but that's just a reality of it. So using a reference of eggs, I like to say again, many want life over easy, but it's a scramble. Your life and anything that you do from a relational standpoint, business standpoint, to a spiritual standpoint, you're gonna deal with a lot, and you gotta be able to trust the Most High, trust the Heavenly Father, and then just believe that what He has for you is what He has for you, and put in the work. Put in the work to help manifest your blessings. He's gonna do His part, but you're responsible for your part. So just remember that. Many want life over easy, but it's a scramble, but it'll be worth it.
All right. And for those of you who need speaking engagements, or would like to, or you would need a life coach, you can contact me at Ephesians6pro@gmail.com. That's Ephesians the number 6pro@gmail.com, or you can book me at www.eph6productions.com.
And as far as for me as well, if you need a speaker at your conference, on any panel or anything, the link below, you can book me at Linktree/Jerry Davis. I'm also can be reached at authorjdavis@gmail.com. I look forward to being on your panel, coming speaking to your group of young men, young women, or whatever the case may be. Definitely book me at that information right there. This has been a fantastic show. We've had a great guest with Ena. Once again, we want to thank you for coming along to be our guest today.
Thank you.
Erica, season 2 is in the books.
And it's been awesome.
Yeah, I want to thank producer Cassius, who does so much behind the scenes, man. It's been a good ride for this year. We're looking for even bigger and better in year 2025. Want to tell all our listeners and guests out there, happy holidays, happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
And before we leave, like I always leave you with, if you're going to be anything in life, be for real. This is JD.
And this is Erica J.
Y'all have a good one. Let's get captivated.
Bye, y'all.
See you.